Thanks, Marshall. Welcome, everyone, to today's Q&A. My name is Gary Gurr. I'll be your host. We're reading your questions and emceeing, and Alex Sandy will be driving documents for us. So as we come across questions, she'll be bringing up documents, references to some of the things we're talking about. As far as announcements, we're going to have the calendar here. I just wanted to let everyone know that the deadline for Fall 2 is February 27th. There is no amendment window for Fall 2, not like Fall 1. So we're hoping everyone's done by February 27th. And this Friday is kind of our error-free deadline. So we're hoping as many LEAs can get their Fall 2 errors corrected by this Friday as best as you can. That just makes it easier and gives you more time to review your reports for accuracy. And then Angela's not here today, so I'm just going to briefly mention we did have our regular Tuesday updates yesterday morning, and these are the fixes will be listed here on the active and known fixed known issues page. And Matt, do you have anything to add as far as any training or any announcements?
No new announcements, but I have a reminder that we do have the Data Governance Academy as well as the March regionals on the training registration page with registration now active. The Data Governance Academy virtual check-in will be on February 19th, and then we'll have 4 sessions of the March regionals delivered on March 3rd and 4th, which you should register for based on your region. Just as a reminder, the session that will have the American Sign Language Interpreter Services will be the morning session on March 4th. So that's scheduled for the Southern A region. So please register for that session for American Sign Language Interpreter Services. And that's all I got, Gary.
Great, thanks, Matt. And then we have Dominic and Brandy from the Special Ed office here today. Any announcements from your guys' office?
Sure. So we sent out yesterday to CELPA a list of students that are still missing degree of support on their plan that is overlapping Census Day. There were around 49,000 students still on that list. And we've received some tickets asking, hey, the degree of support appears to be in the plan record. There is a compatibility or like an accepted code combination. For disability code 300, deaf blindness, it requires extensive support needs. So we've been getting tickets where students with that disability code have mild to moderate support needs indicated, and that's not correct. So please refer to the guidance document for determining degree of support and make sure that the degree of support selected is compatible with the student's disability 1 and 2 codes. Again, these lists went out to CELPA, so please reach out to your CELPA if they have not communicated with you. These changes do need to be in place by the end of the Fall 2 window. And that's all.
Okay, thanks, Dominic. Sean,
can I also
ahead,
just say something? So I also wanted to let folks know that I did give a presentation at the CSN Committee of PASCO, which is essentially credential analysts and county credential analysts, last week on course data related to special education. And we have agreed, and Angela has agreed, to forward the Wednesday call support link to the county credential analysts so that they can use this forum to respond or to ask questions related to CALPADS course data and credentialing, right? And so what's really important there is that the 2 individuals, the CALPADS administrator as well as the credential analyst, if the credential analyst is going to come, then their CALPADS administrator should join them, because you speak CALPADS, they don't, okay? But we can answer some credential related questions. And so I will be on the calls Wednesday through the month of February. But that invitation, by the way, is limited to the month of February because they really need to be here prior to Fall 2 certifications.
And did any of them show, are any of them expected today or not till next Wednesday?
I do not know whether or not the email
Okay.
was sent,
Oh,
so I
okay.
don't know. I don't know,
Okay.
but I'm here.
Okay, great. And Sean, any announcements from the CalPADS operations office?
Thanks, Gary. No announcements, but to echo Brandy's sentiments. I will do my best to be here through the month of February as well, to be able to support with the credential questions, if any arise. If not, I know I've been supporting with them through the SPED office hours, but now the sadly our SPED office hours are every other week instead of every week. But yes, I'm just here to lend the support.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. All right, then it's that time to start answering questions. So let me make the screen a little bit bigger. I can read it better. Okay, we have a Q1 from Lathea. What are the appropriate steps to update a student's EL status if they took the initial LPAC, but the family is insisting he's a native English speaker? Are we allowed to update the student's home language? So the home language service said they were a native English speaker. You can update that with a correction code potentially. And Alex has it up on the screen. So these are all the ones that are still effective. So it could be correction code 4, English learner to an English only. And so you would upload a solo record with that code and the new primary language and the EO status.
I just want to chime in to Lathea that this is going to need to be an administrator decision at your LEA though. So as long as they're providing you that guidance, then yes, gladly. So please note that once the student has taken the initial IFEP though, that can't be undone.
Q1 from Shelley. Which instruction strategy has a higher priority, 700 SPED or 300 home hospital? There is a hierarchy, and it's 700 SPED is the one, and Alex is showing it on the screen. Q1 from Cindy. We have 3 TK students that were reported to CalPADS as English only at the beginning of the school year. The parents have updated the students' language survey, and now the students are TBD. A new SELA record is not uploading. Do I manually enter a new record for each of the 3 students using the error code language survey error? Yes. So it's similar to the first question. You can go from EO to TBD with the correction code of 1. Q1 from Rachel. Just to confirm, in the LEAP file, does the field expanded learning program days count enrolled or attended days? Someone know the answer to that one? Let's see.
It would be the days that they're in attendance, I believe, because it has to do with the minutes.
So the number of distinct days the student participated in one or more expanded learning programs for the school year, which may be 0 if the student enrolled in the program but did not participate.
Yeah, so it's participated. It's the distinct days the student participated. Was that the question? It was enrolled or participated, right? The question.
Program days count enrolled or attended days. So it sounds like intended. Well,
Attended would be another
participated.
synonym, yeah, for participated.
They have to be enrolled if they're participating, but I guess intended would be if they actually went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your SIS should be calculating that for you based upon the different parameters.
Awesome. Q1 from Katherine. I have a CERT 51 and 53 warning for fall 2 that do not include the seed number. Needed to review the information. Can you help me understand how to correct these errors? It depends. Sometimes these errors are you actually have to look at the error and well, if it's not giving the seed number, but if it's a warning, it could be that it's a school that is looking for pupil services, but you don't have any at the district level or something like that. You look at the school that it's actually there or at the school.
That's what it is, Gary. The
Yeah.
entire school identified you don't have a single teacher reported, or you don't have a single pupil services staff member reported. I think it's the 51, 52, and 53 identified job classification codes that are not reported for a particular school. It's common if you have an NPS school and there's no NPS students enrolled, of course, sometimes it might trigger on that. But most often, for sure, the district enrollment, if you don't have any district staff reported, which I think for fall two, you should at least have a superintendent reported, but that's what it's going to identify. School where you don't have those job classifications reported.
Thanks, Nate. And
pupil
go ahead.
services, by the way, is counselors, nurses, any pupil service staff, any non-instructional librarians, things like that.
Perfect. And as a warning, it doesn't have to be corrected for you to be able to LEA approve. However, it is there for information, just for a double check. Are you sure you got everybody? And in some cases, maybe you don't have any at the school for whatever reason, and you can just ignore the warning. Keyword from Rochelle. There are three. Oh, here we go. Here we go. There are three new course codes added for this year: 9701, 9702, 9703, related to visual hearing impairment instruction and hearing impairment instruction. And I thought there was one of. However, when coding our deaf and hard of hearing teachers as 27 itinerant, the job class of 026226 DIS interpreter errors. The only job class that can be associated with the 0226 is an 11, which cannot have a course tied to them. I put in a ticket with CALPADS and they asked me to bring up the question here. Well, I know the Flash 313 talks a little bit about these new courses, and I think the CDE is recommending that they use the course code 12. Although this year it's okay if you use a 27, but I'm a little confused, and I think this is why we wanted the analyst here to help us with this question.
Well, Brandy's here, but the code set specifically says they're for itinerant teachers, so I'd imagine it's for 27. The code set has the definition for the three new assignments. The reason why you'd get an error for job classification 11 is because these are for teachers.
Right, and I know because I had answered this a ticket similar to this and referencing the Flash, which specifically only mentions code 12 for teacher, and they shot back and said, well, it says 27 too in the past documentation. And I think that's correct, and it should be okay. I think going forward, they're leaning towards them getting
So
go ahead, Brandy.
let me chime in. So these specific new course codes are for teachers that teach students with low incidence disabilities, and they are teachers, right? Keep in mind, everything that's reported in the non-classroom based or support assignment file are intended to be non-instructional assignments. So I'm seeing two things here. Number one, you should not be using 0226. You should probably be using one of the new available course codes. And although you can probably use 27 to indicate that they are itinerant, we prefer that you use 12. And that is because these particular assignments need to validate the course roster associated with that teacher's section. Who are the pupils that they are giving this instruction to? Because these are low incidence disabilities, the idea is if they're teaching kids without these low incidence disabilities, it could potentially be a misassignment. Okay, so that's why they want you to use 12. Use 12 because you also have to report the students associated with them.
Perfect.
I have a question. Would the students with low incidence disabilities also correlate with those who need the degree of support reported?
Yes, that's correct. And it would, you're right, the misassignment could also depend on the degree of support.
Okay, so hopefully that helps answer the question, and I'm sure we'll be seeing this more and more throughout this fall 2 season. Q1 from Kathy. For non-classroom based personnel, if they receive their SEID after census day, can they still be counted in this fall? Not exactly sure what MHT-BCBA is. Non-classroom based personnel. Well, you wouldn't if they don't have a SEID, you can't put them in CALPADS. You could still put courses if they were not a non-class based personnel. You could put courses, but you wouldn't use their SEID. You'd use the 10-9 wildcard, which if that's how it is, that's how it is. But that you will be getting an exception from CalSAS that you'll have to explain. So other than that, if they're non-classroom based and they don't have a SEID, you can't put them in CalPADS.
But I
You can
think
do
she
about it.
said if
Once
they
they
get the
have-
seed after.
Yeah, I was like, once they have the seed, then they can put
Oh,
them
after. I'm sorry. I was thinking of
in
fall 2. Yeah.
CalPADS.
Oh,
But it's basically dependent upon whether or not they were employed on
yes.
census day. So if they
Yes.
were employed on census day and they have the seed, then you should put them in there. And to Gary's point, though, if they did not have a seed active as of census day, then that's a different exception that you will receive from an exception or misassignment that your HR team will receive through CalSAS.
Thanks. I'm sorry. I misread that for some reason in my mind. I thought that meant they didn't start employment until after census day, but
Well, and it honestly is really dependent on whether or not they were in a position requiring certification on census day. So it's not just employed, okay?
okay.
It's not just employed,
Sure.
it's were they in an assignment requiring certification as of census day. So
Well, that's when she said the non-classroom based
right,
personnel.
hold on, let me explain what I mean. So I'm employed with the district, I'm employed, but I'm in a classified position. Now they're putting me in a position requiring certification, and that position if it started after census day, obviously it wouldn't require reporting. But they start in that position prior to census day. They're just not issued their SEID until after census day. So it's dependent on not only being employed with the district, but also that you are in a position requiring certification. Because there are plenty of teachers also that have SEIDs, but they're in classified positions. You're not going to report those individuals for purposes of fall 2. Does that make sense?
Yes, makes sense. And so if they get their SEID after census day, but they were there on census day in the right position, doing the right thing, you have until the deadline of fall 2 to still put them in there and have them counted. Rochelle, I see your Q2. We'll circle back to that. Katherine, I see your Q2. We'll circle back to that. Lisa, I'm assuming this is your Q1. Is the degree of support required for NPS students? We did not report degree of support for students placed at non-public schools because we don't report their teacher credentials.
If they have one of those primary or secondary disabilities, the system does require it. So, and keep in mind, folks, that these kids, their support need will stay with them where they travel. So even though right now we're not evaluating the credentials of teachers that provide instruction at non-public schools, if that student returns, that degree of support is going to be necessary if they're placed in a special education setting. So yes, it is required.
Q1 from Becker. Is there documentation on which teacher should be reported as the teacher of record in fall 2 for a teacher that is in a TOSA, teacher on special assignment position? We have 3 teachers in TOSA positions, and we are reporting them as TOSAs. We are also reporting the temp sub-teachers that are covering for the TOSAs as the teacher of record, since we are treating these positions as vacancies. Is that correct? Yeah, whoever is the teacher of record on census day, if it's a temp teacher, if the TOSA is off doing something else not related to the course section that you're putting up, yes, use the temp. And documentation, think Alex has this up on the screen.
I think to me, this is what matters, right? Is who is the teacher that's responsible for the instruction
Yeah.
of the pupils on census day?
There you go.
But then also, though, I think it links to the table that's right beneath that. And where is it not? Is it so? Aside from the teacher, the TOSAs, I don't want to kind of disregard them at this point. The actual teachers for these students in the classroom on census day, but also throughout the year. So who's beginning with them, and to the point of what is a teacher of record? Who's providing their attendance? Who's providing their grades? Who is that teacher basically attributed to in your master schedule? And so if that happens to be the substitute or temp teacher, then that's who it is. But that's who you should be reporting, though, is the teacher that is basically tied to that course section for those students, and providing the instruction, the attendance, and the grades for those. They're accountable for those student records.
And Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, but the TOSAs would still be putting CALPADS with a non-classroom based job assignment?
That's correct. Yeah, that's all I was like, those are kind of separate. That's all I was like, if we chunk these into two questions, because to me, the TOSAs, yes, they're being reported already, and that the LEA has identified how to report them.
Perfect. And Becca says, got it. Thank you.
Becca.
Q1 from Teresa. I've been reviewing the 16.14 monthly, and today just had 25 SPED students show up on the report that transferred to other California schools prior to the 25-26 school year. I spot checked 7 of them, and they all have the correct District of Special Ed accountability on the plan record in CALPADS, not us. I see that there is an active issue 7345, but was not sure by the title if that explains why we're seeing these show up on the 16.14 when the DSEA in CALPADS looks like it is not our district.
I just want to clarify that this bug is for the DSEA version of 1614.
So that's what I was going to ask. So Teresa, which version of 1614 are you looking at? Are you looking at the certification report 1614, or are you looking at 1614 by DSEA?
I would assume DSEA because she's talking about checking the DSEAs for these students. And this active
It's not
issue.
a bug. It's not a bug, right? Dominic, the fact that there's, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, if she's checking the DSEA on the plan records in CALPADS, part of the question is, the as of date of the 1614 that is being generated versus the plan effective start date and that sort of thing. So I think that we would need a ticket to confirm this just to be able to check a few specific records. But if anybody has specific information on this active issue,
But Dominic, you see the first part of her question that basically says the student showed up on the report that transferred to other California public schools prior to 25-26. This is that same issue that we have to explain to our folks, which is there are going to be kids on these reports, and this is the E155 issue, Dominic.
Oh,
that thing. Yeah.
Got it. Right. So yes, thank you. Students that their most recent enrollment exit is E155 or 156 within the last 2 years will still appear on this report.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why they're that's why they're showing up on there. Bottom line is, if they exited in a prior year, so you can look at that report 1614, and you can actually filter out kids that exited prior to 25-26. You can filter those out, but that's part of the report design.
And if that's not the case, then please submit a ticket.
Okay.
Thanks, Brandy.
Yeah, no problem.
You one from Eva. Per CALPADS training, RSP teachers are listed with the code 27 for job classification and leave non-classroom job assignments blank. I did so accordingly. However, I still receive SM0684 F2. A teacher employed on Census Day has no non-classroom based job assignment or assigned course record.
So Eva, the error code is correct. You need to submit a course record for the educator. If they are a true RSP teacher, then you are submitting course code 9231 with them. And if you are marking it as a 27, you do not have to list students with a 27 itinerant pull out or push in teacher. Thanks, Alex. If you are listing it as a RSP teacher for a 12 and still listing the 9231 course code with it, you do need to list students with it. That's going to be a local decision. The benefit of listing students with a 12 RSP teacher for 9231 goes back to your misassignments or exceptions. So therefore, students with exceptionalities or disabilities, their degrees of support can easily be matched. I'm sorry, their exceptionalities can easily be matched to the authorizations for that educator. Randy, if I've missed something, go for it.
No, yeah, you're right. I just want to, I want to clarify though, that when you use code 9231, if for whatever reason you list it as itinerant and you don't have the student roster, that course is being evaluated strictly on the fact that they're an RSP teacher. And so it's looking for the teacher's authorizations for that RSP assignment. If you use 12 and you attach the student roster, they don't look at the primary disabilities of the students because they're still evaluating the teacher's credentials solely against what's required for that code. And you'll see here on the screen what's required for 9231. However, if you have this educator providing support instruction to a student with extensive support needs or mild moderate support needs, then that educator must have an authorization that allows them to provide support. They don't evaluate primary or secondary disability in this case, but if you do provide the students, they are going to look at that degree of support as a factor.
All right, thank you guys. Okay. Where am I? Let's see. Q1 from Stephanie. Is there any funding that comes from the enrollment record that would be affected if the DOGR is incorrect? Our SELPA has regionalized programs other than the county, and we noticed at SELPA that not all enrollment records in CALPADS reflect any or correct DOGR in these scenarios. We are concerned that districts may be losing funding, not necessarily on the SPED side, because these files are usually correct, but curious if the enrollment record is tied to funding in other areas.
So I can speak for special education specifically. We don't ever use the district of geographic residence pulled from the SCNR. But potentially, if that district of geographic residence is incorrect, it could potentially have funding implications on the gen ed side, but in LCFF specifically. So, but it does not have special education funding implications because we don't use that.
Okay, Q1 from Stephanie. Recently, CDE dropped the requirement of 300 hours in order to be a pathway completer. As long as the capstone class is passed with a C, as long as the capstone class is passed with a C- or better. We have a student who had to drop the capstone class at semester. He did pass the first semester of the class. Can we still consider him a completer? If they don't complete the capstone course, they cannot be a completer because when you complete the capstone course, you also upload a SCTE record with the pathway that goes with that capstone course. So if you didn't complete it, you wouldn't have uploaded the SCTE record either. They would show up as a participant potentially, but not as a completer.
That's correct. And then we never We didn't validate for 300 hours as well too. There was, we haven't had that validation and within recording the completers. And so, Stephanie, it sounds like they did not complete the course. They only completed a semester. And so if the course was a year-long course, then you would not count them as a completer. If the course was just a semester course, and as you said, he passed, then yes, you would count them as a completer.
All right, thank you. Q1 from Bavita. Is it possible to get examples of teacher job titles for 9701, 9702, and 9703? That would help us map these courses in to correct SPED staff.
So, Bavita, what I can tell you is when we first got this request from an LEA, and the reason this actually happened was because there was no code. This one LEA had a visual impairment teacher, orthopedically handicapped teacher, or orthopedic impairment teacher. They had two specific positions within their district. And so there weren't any courses that aligned to that. And so all they could do was select from the non-classroom based codes, and it was the other, right? 60/20. They were selecting 60/20. Every year this generated an exception. And so she's saying, well, there isn't a course that aligns with what these teachers are doing, which is why we developed these. And in that instance, the job positions were literally VI teacher and OI teacher. That's what it was. So I don't have any, you might want to ask some of your colleagues in the chat if you have teachers that provide instruction to students with visual impairment or orthopedic impairments. If you know some of their job titles, post them in the chat, and that'll give you an idea.
Good idea. Thank you. Q1 from Heather. Is there any way to report a PE teacher at an elementary school who teaches all grades, or do they need two course records, one for TK through 4 and one for 5 through 8? Does this role also require all students to be enrolled in the class to avoid errors? I think PE teachers can be itinerate, push in, pull out, and when you add the courses, you don't have to put those students.
They can be, but in this example, it doesn't sound as if so.
Okay.
So can you do so? Yes, but if it's going to, it sounds like the 5 through 8 have a different curriculum. And so they need to report it as like the departmentalized courses if they're having, they're operating as a, a true middle school and having, students rostered to different sections. So in that case, yes, you report it as a departmentalized course from what you're describing.
So and the reason there's two, by the way, is because in statute, these two separate grade levels of students have different instructional minutes requirements, which is why you see two different courses.
Exactly. Also lumping them all together for TK through 4, like in one course section, I would not recommend that, only because that looks like it has to do with your staff student count ratios, because you're looking as if you're having all of these students kind of clustered into one section to this one teacher, and it's only 30 students at a time. So I wouldn't recommend that, Heather.
Okay.
Can you do it? Yes. But is it recommended? No.
Okay.
And it's not just to avoid CALPADS errors. It would be to avoid other reporting errors.
She asked if it's not departmentalized.
And I think if I can chime in, I think our FAQ does say if it's a self-contained course covering multiple standards, then select one range. There's no need to create multiple for a self-contained class to represent different grade levels. But I don't know if this is just strictly talking to the state course code 1000 versus a specific PE course that has its own. I think we have separate.
But what I would ask is, first of all, is this teacher teaching all grades together at once? And, you know,
That's what it said, 2 different schools though. So that's where I was like, and so to me, if it's 2 different schools, then it would be, they'd have 2 different CDS codes. So you couldn't do that anyways.
well,
I think
it
one.
just says one elementary school. So it's an elementary school, not the whole
That's
school at
just
once.
TK
Right.
through 8. Okay, got it.
So I can tell you, so Alex, that the FAQ that you pointed out actually does not necessarily pertain to
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
these, right?
Okay.
So we have these 2 codes for departmentalized K5 and departmentalized 6-8. So what we gave it prior in guidance, I don't know if it's changed, but in prior sessions, we told them that for those courses, you need 2 separate sections, one to cover the TK5 and the other to cover 6 through 8 for that one teacher.
I think we answered it. Okay, Q2 from Eva. Q1 from Dawn. What is the best way to report a pull-in, push-out intervention teacher serving general education students who has no assigned courses? Would job class 27 with an assignment code of 6020 be appropriate?
I'm sorry, I lost the question.
So this is a push-in, pull-out intervention teacher serving the gen ed students who has no assigned courses. Would they use the 27 job code with an assignment code of 6020, non-classroom based job assignment of 6020 be appropriate?
Serving general education student who has no assigned course. No. Intervention teacher. No, it would be the intervention teacher. There's a code for that. It's like MTISI or some RTI something. There's a course code. If you look in the FAQs, there's a course code for that.
In an FAQ?
Yeah. Type in response to intervention or RTI.
There we go.
There you go.
9230.
Yeah, so that's the course code that you would use for it. Not, you would use 27 as the itinerant, and then you would use the 9230. That was it. Yeah, 9230. Sorry.
Perfect. Thanks, Sean.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
And the really important thing to remember, folks, is that anytime you have a teacher providing primary or support instruction to students, it's going to require a course section. Okay, so the fact that the SAS file captures non-classroom based assignments, unfortunately, that's created a lot of confusion because they think, oh, they don't have they're not assigned to a classroom, so we'll put them in this file. That file is for capturing non-instructional assignments. If they're providing support or primary instruction, they need a course section.
Perfect. Okay. See a lot of Q2s and Q3s to come back to. Here's a Q1 from Veronica. We have behavior analysts who are certified in a certified position. However, I'm not finding a SEID for them. How would I report their job classification and non-classroom based job code? Is a SEID required? A SEID is required. I think if they're not in CALPADS yet, you have to look up and find out what their SEID number is, and that's from the CTCC, California Teacher Credentialing site. I think that's where you go to look that up.
So Veronica, so when you say certified can mean 2 different things. Is the first question for me. Are they certificated or are they classified? Certified just means that you can have a what is an ABA certificate, and that's reasonable, but that does not classify as a certificated position. That can be a classified position within your LEA, and so therefore those staff members would not be reported within CALPADS, nor would they necessarily need to have a SEID.
Q1 from Larney. If we have staff who was a counselor last year, hired 8 years ago, this year is her first year as a certificated teacher in a classroom. The hire date of 8 years ago remains, but how do we calculate their years of teaching experience? Do we calculate in our SIS before sending it to CALPADS, or does CALPADS have a calculator within? I don't think we have a calculator for teaching experience, and I don't think it matters as far as it's just employment service years. I don't know if it matters teaching years or not.
Yeah, it's just gonna be the overall count. Nate does normally a good job in summarizing this one. Sorry to put you on the spot. Don't know if you're paying attention.
Oh, and Alex has it up too.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Worked at a specific LAD in a LEA in a certificated position.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Alex.
it. Will do.
Q1 from Colleen. I thought I read somewhere that the T5 squiggly line
That's the ed
8005
code. Yeah, that's the law.
local assignment option covers departmentalized courses not covered under any specific credential, i.e. student government, community service. Is that correct? Or a non-classroom based setting in case you want to know?
Is that local assignment for departmentalized courses?
Yeah, if no standards
I believe
exist for
that
the
is-
course.
Yeah, I believe that is correct, Colleen. However, that's specific. Oh, Alex has it. Thank you.
Looks like it's right there, 2961.
Yeah, for the elective content. Thank you. But they do still have to have the BA in teaching. And those local assignment options are specific to like those individual educators and what they're teaching. But yes, you're good.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're to a Q2, so I'm going to circle back. Got quite a few and 14 minutes left. Q2 from Rochelle. For course code 1000 self-contained, do we need to notate a departmentalized course standard grade level range, or should we exclude those? Should we exclude from those courses? There's a valid code combinations document, as Chris here mentions, and it will tell you there's the columns for each one of those if they're required or not, depending on the course code.
And since 1000 is basically a kind of a catch-all, then you have the yeses and you have the nulls to where you can just leave it blank.
Thanks, Sean.
Just to be clear, guys, this is intended to say if you submit a self-contained class, you can submit standards grade level TK4 or 5 through 8 or 9 through 12, but you cannot submit something that says not applicable. This is just saying these are the ones that are valid with it, but we wouldn't expect all three, is I guess my point.
Perfect.
Correct.
Okay, Q2 from Katherine. If we did not get a letter concerning degree of support letter, does that mean our district is okay? Can you please verify for me if Sonora was sent this letter and who it went to? I'm not seeing it.
So the email was sent to SELPA directors. And so if your SELPA has not reached out, you could, of course, reach out back to them to see if your district is on the list. Or you can send an email to speddatasupport@cde.ca.gov. I'm just not able to pull up the list in a reasonable amount of time right now.
And also, folks, there's 49,000 kids. So there's a probability that at least you guys are all on that list at least once. So I would if you haven't heard from your SELPA, reach out to them and say, I know CDE sent out a list of kids who are missing degree of support. Can you tell me if my district is on the list? So I would strongly encourage you to reach out, even if your SELPA hasn't contacted you, because we literally only sent it out. Was it yesterday?
Yesterday.
Dominic? Yeah, yesterday. So reach out.
Okay, Q2 from Eva. I marked our itinerant music teacher with a code 27 for the job classification and left non-classroom job assignment. I received an SM0684 F2. A teacher employed on census date has no non-classroom based job assignment or course records. Please advise on how to resolve this. So they either need a non-classroom based job assignment or a course section record.
And so Chris's guidance is correct. They should probably have a course code with them. Music is listed. There you go, Alex. Thank you.
9290.
I don't know if it's elementary or not, but
Yes. Sorry. Thanks. Yes. If it's not elementary, that's a whole nother bucket of worms. But yeah.
This is the second question that is asked about the requirement of the course section record with the job classification code 27. So it's worth reiterating that the CRSE record, the course record that's tied to staff, is required for the 27. It's the student course section record, the SCSE record, that is not required for the job classification code 27. So you still need to submit either an assignment or a course for your code 27 staff.
Matt? Okay, Q2 from Stephanie. We have a special ed student that is kinder age, but not attending. The student is receiving walk-up speech services. Which school should the student be enrolled at?
Assuming the student is under 6 years old and they're not participating in a program at the district, they should just be enrolled at the district level with a primary enrollment.
Perfect.
Isn't that unless they have like a services only school? I'm asking for my own clarification.
I
You
don't
feel free
know.
to tell
What
me
is it?
now.
What do you mean?
Like when they have the schools that are the CES code that's like specifically designed for just like their no,
Like
I
they're
think that's
Special ed.
tracking
preschool.
students.
Yeah, I think that's preschool. That's why I was like, I think I confused myself. It's okay.
Yeah, preschool.
Thank
Well,
you.
but I understand what you're saying. I mean, typically they can enroll them in the special education preschool code.
Yeah.
If they have one specific to their district.
Okay. But that's just a preschool. Don't listen to me. He was talking about a kindergarten student. Listen to Dominic. Okay.
Okay.
Well,
Stephanie.
it is technically a preschool student
Yeah,
if they're
they are
kindergarten age, 5
yeah.
years old, but not
Okay.
attending.
Oh, that's the other thing. Just kind of as an aside, do not use TK or kindergarten unless they're actually enrolled in a transitional kindergarten or kindergarten,
Yes.
even if
Yeah.
they're kindergarten age.
Okay. All right, Q3 from Eva. I noticed that at least 3 students' local IDs on the Fall 2 1.0 certification error report are not accurate. Please check. Thanks. Okay, good point. If you would submit a
Got a
ticket.
ticket?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we will forget as soon as we hang
or
up.
where do
we'll
we even
forget.
start?
So,
Yeah.
I know. Q2 from Shelly. Is it okay to report students when using 27 and 9231, or do we need to change 27 to 12? One of my schools added students this year, and I've not had that happen previously.
You can still report the students with 27 and 9231. You do not have to list the 12 in order to report the students.
That's great.
Thank you.
And that is what we recommend for RSP teachers providing support instruction.
Yep. Okay, Q2 from Rochelle. If we have a teacher on leave this full year and they are not the teacher of record for a class this year and not guaranteed a spot when or if they do come back, what non-classroom code should we use or give them if they're on leave this full year?
It's still the
you want
6018 because they're on leave for the academic year, right?
No, if they're on leave for the academic year though, and they had a teacher that's replacing them, they don't report them.
Yeah, so look at this or look at Flash 294 scenario 2. That tells you what to do with the teachers that are not teaching.
If they're not coming, if they're absent for the entire year, thank you for like putting the details, Rachel, then no, you would not report them.
Q1 from Charlene. Before we have the new courses, the 9701, 2, and 3, we were reporting our teachers as 110214 and 11212 without any course sections. Can we continue to do so this year?
I'd say no. Because in order to properly evaluate these teachers and whether or not they're appropriately assigned, you need to know the kids that are in the class. You need to know the kids' degree of support. So I would create sections for them because they're teachers. Again, if they're providing instruction to students, they need a course section.
Last question, Q2 from Larney. What is the earliest date that we can claim ownership of 26-27 students? We are a high school district and we are now building our 26-27 master schedule. Our builders and HR wanted counts of EL, LTEL, and SPED, etc., so they can account and plan the number of teachers needed who will provide these services. All our incoming freshmen are from different feeder schools. We are hoping to identify our kids under these programs during the schedule building.
Well, the earliest date they can claim ownership is 7/1, because that's when the new school year begins. So you want to claim ownership for the 26-27 school year, and 26-27 begins 7/1.
Okay. Katherine lost the call and was not able to hear her Q2 answer. Can you please repeat the answer? Okay.
I was able to track down her Q2
Oh,
for
thank you,
Gary.
Matt.
Thank you.
All right, so
I don't know what it was.
Catherine's Q2 at 307. If we did not get a letter concerning degree of support, does that mean that our district is okay? Can you please verify for me if Sonora was sent a letter and who it went to? I'm not seeing it.
The email was sent to SELPA yesterday, so please just reach out to your SELPA and they would have that information for you.
And that is the end of the questions, and it looks like we're at the top of the hour.
That was impressive, Gary. You got through all that.
We got through all of them. I mean, we had a lot of help today, so I'd like to thank everyone, Brandy, Sean, Dominic, Alex, Matt, Nate, everyone that chipped in, and the users that put their answers in as well. Thank you very much. We will be
Thanks,
back
guys.
again next Wednesday.
Great job.